Breakfast with Sadie 9. This is BBC Essex.
Sadie 9 till 9 on BBC Essex Breakfast for a Tuesday morning. A miserable Tuesday morning, I have to say. Our top story this hour, though, is about a 27-year-old married man from Barking who was radicalised by watching YouTube videos. Even went on TV talking about his views. Karan Butt went on to kill 7 people at London Bridge. How on earth did he slip through the net?
You're listening to Sadie 9. Call 0300 200 40 41. Tweet at BBC Essex. Text 81333 and start your message with Essex. BBC Essex.
7 minutes past 8. Have a listen to this. It's a friend of one of the London Bridge killers talking about his suspicious behaviour before the attack.
We spoke about a particular attack that happened, and like most radicals, he had a justification for anything, for everything and anything. And that day I realised that I need to contact the authorities. He used to listen to a lot of Musa Jibril. I've heard some of this stuff and it's very radical. I'm surprised some of this stuff is still on YouTube and easily accessible. I phoned the anti-terrorist hotline. I spoke to the gentleman. I told him about our conversation and why I think he's been radicalised. I did my bit. I know a lot of people did, but the authorities didn't do their bit.
So that man rang the anti-terror hotline to report Karan Butt. He was also on a watch list with the police and the MI5. He'd even appeared on a Channel 4 documentary called The Jihadis Next Door. I must be honest, I've never seen it. I would have thought it was a comedy. So how did Butt go on to kill 7 and maim dozens of others? And what happens when you ring the anti-terror hotline? Well, BBC Essex asked how many people call it. The latest figures show that in 2015, 2,500 people rang the number. Let's try and answer some of those questions for you. Sidra Naim is a leading member of Chelmsford Mosque as well as a chaplain at Anglia University and joins us now. Anglia Ruskin, I beg your pardon, and joins us now. So what is going wrong with the anti-terror hotline in your view?
I personally feel that too many people are being referred, because I actually think that the guidelines are not strict enough. They're too vague. So any old person is being referred to prevent and going through the channel panel. And I probably feel, that, the police haven't got enough funding to deal with all of them, because I know there has been a huge lack of funds recently in the policing department, cutbacks and all the rest. Right. And I think that they've probably got too many to deal with. And I think that maybe the process needs to be simplified in Prevent, so people know exactly who to refer. And I actually feel that Muslims need to set those guidelines, because we need to work with the local Muslim community, have them on board. A lot of Muslims can feel that Prevent is a spying process. That is happening as well. If Muslims set the guidelines, we haven't got all this problem of what is extremism and what isn't. It's only a Muslim that can tell you what is within the religion and what isn't. For example, a non-Muslim may think certain aspects which are compulsory in our religion, like praying 5 times a day or fasting for a whole month, is extreme, whereas a Muslim can tell you, no, that's not extreme, that's part of our religion. Yeah. And, mainstream Muslims know the clear boundaries within their religion, and it's when you surpass those boundaries, then there's a big problem.
You're absolutely right, because I have no idea as to what would be a normal form of, as you say, of recognising the Quran and what is. Hang on, you've taken one verse out there and you've become radicalised because you're saying that now and saying it to the whole of society. So you can find out. What do Muslims think about Prevent, and do they take the hotline seriously? Do they actually feel, well, I reported someone but I didn't hear anything, so I'm not going to do it again, or what do the Muslims think about it?
I think that definitely is happening. We know that definitely the last 3 terrorist atrocities that happened, the one that was outside Parliament, he was on the radar. Someone had reported him, but nothing was done. Again, when we look at Salman, what he did in Manchester, apparently 3 people had referred him to Prevent. His own mother, one of his good friends, and the local imam from the mosque had reported him and banned him from the mosque. Then why was nothing done? And then this time as well, you just put a recording up of one of the boy's friend. Obviously, those people who have reported these things are going to feel, well, why was nothing done? And then it does lose trust in the public. It's a little bit like race hate crime, where, some members of the community, they do report race hate crime, but when nothing is done, then the next time they don't bother reporting because they feel, well, nothing was done, nothing's going to be done about it anyway, why should we report it?
What can be done without, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to create more hate. You don't want to give people a reason in the Muslim faith to actually go, see, they hate us because they're doing that, or they've taken that person away. He hadn't done anything wrong. All he'd done was take out a flag. All he'd done was say this. All it was his neighbour, as we heard there, saying, hang on, something's not right. All it was I fell out with my mother and my mother rang up the thing. What can be done? What would you like to see being done? Because these people are killing Muslims as well as anyone else.
They are. I think to make the process easier, we need to simplify the strategy. We need to simplify the guidelines, and Muslims need to set those guidelines.
But then what happened? What could be done? Should they be locked away? Should they be kept, to keep us all safe? Or that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, if you've got nothing, if they haven't actually done something,
yes. Well, at the moment, there is something called a channel panel, which is the process they go through. So as soon as someone refers somebody as a potential person of being radicalised, they go through the channel panel, and through there they get mentoring, counselling, and that's where things are looked at. That, I think, is where things are going wrong. Right. I feel, because they are slipping through that channel panel. We need to look at the representatives on the channel panel and question them, especially in relation to some of these terrorists that have done these things. What happened to them when they were referred? Did they get to the channel panel stage? Who looked at them and who let them through? Again, I feel Muslims need to be on the channel panel, because they're the only ones who will be able to tell you what is extremist behaviour and what isn't, regarding to their religion. You have to be in the shoes of that religion to be able to tell you what is.
I think most people are being nodding, going, absolutely. Listening to this is Dr. Kim Howells, who was former chair of the Intelligence and Security Committee and Labour's Foreign Office Counter-Terrorism Minister. He's an expert on radicalisation. Joins me now as well on the line. Dr. Kim, you're listening to us here. I mean, was this a miss by the security services? What happened here?
Well, presumably there'll be a proper inquiry now to find out what happened. But I think it's all very well to say that a certain number of people have called. There are a huge number of men and women who are on the terrorist radar screen of the police and the intelligence and security agencies. And I'm afraid to say that it's without turning the country into a police state, it's impossible to keep a tag on all of these people all of the time, especially if there are individuals who are prepared simply to hire a van, use a car, and drive it across a bridge or into a street and murder people there and then. It's all very well to say these things. It's a very, very different matter to try to balance up the freedoms and liberties that we all want, not to be carted off to jail simply suspicion, and actually protecting us from these murderous individuals who, in the name of religion, are killing and maiming right across Europe and right across the world.
No, but as Sidra said there, maybe the guidelines should be more specific, that the Muslims should be judging, they should be on the channel panel.
There are Muslims who are very much involved in the whole process, and the idea that this is conducted by kind of middle-class white men somewhere else is a nonsense. We wouldn't receive any intelligence whatsoever about terrorists if it wasn't for the fact that there are Muslims in communities who are prepared to talk to the police and talk to the intelligence agencies. But there is a real problem. The idea that somehow there's only one interpretation of the Quran, or one interpretation of Islam, is simply not true. These people believe that their actions are underpinned by preachers, by the truth as they see it of their interpretation of that religion, and that debate has to be a public one. We have to debate this stuff. We can't just turn the country into a police state and start roping people in and sticking them in some kind of a camp because somebody's phoned up about them.
Dr. Kim Howes, do stay with us. We'll discuss this more after the latest travel.
BBC Essex Travel. Bucky.
Thursday from 10.
BBC Essex.
It's BBC Essex, I'm Sadie Nine, and we're talking about the anti-terror hotline. Karam Butt was reported on that. We've heard from one of his neighbours who'd said, and a friend who'd reported him for suspicious behaviour. With me in the studio is Sidram Naeem, leading member of Chelmsford Mosque, as well as chaplain at Anglia Ruskin. On the line is Dr. Kim Howes, former chair of the Intelligence and Security Committee and Labour's Foreign Office Counter-Terrorism Minister. And just before we went to the travel there, the doctor was saying, do we still have the doctor there? Are we still there? I think we've lost Dr. Kim. I wonder if we could get him back, the doctor, because we were in a conversation there with him. We seem to have lost him there. But he was saying, Sidra, that you know, we have to, we can't lock everyone up. We can't do that. But something has to happen, doesn't it? I mean, something has to happen. Is there any way, and I know that you're just not given enough platforms. I try and do it on this programme. Is there not a way? And I know that there's a lot of imams who've said that they will not bury these people.
Yes, definitely.
We need to shout this.
Yes.
We need to tell you people, if you're thinking that, you are not a Muslim, that you do not accept them as Muslims, because if they were a Christian, I would be saying, you're not a Christian.
Yes, 130 imams, apparently, so far, have refused to bury the bodies, Muslim bodies, of the terrorists that did the London Bridge atrocities. And that's in The Guardian. That's the latest news, which I think is good, because we don't class them as Muslims. They can't be Muslims. Ramadan is a particularly holy month for Muslims. And did you know the actual time when all this happened is just after breaking our fast, where, you know, we're at a very humble sort of stage in the day, and it's right at the time when we then go forward and do our nighttime prayers.
Right.
And that's the exact time when it happened, just before the nighttime prayers. So were these Muslims, were they not breaking their fast, and were they not thinking of their nighttime prayers when they did this? You know, we just need to question it. It's like Ku Klux Klan. Do we question whether they are Christians? Like Ku Klux Klan.
Well, we don't accept.
We don't accept their Christians, and
They're
like
not.
that, we as Muslims don't accept that ISIS are Muslims.
Is it time to stop calling them Muslims and start saying these are just evil cowards?
Yes,
really.
Muslims don't call them Muslims. Actually,
What do you call them?
fanatics.
Fanatics.
Yeah. They're not. They're inhumane. Actually, they're inhumane.
Is it time as well to look at it it's fantastic that 130 imams, and I'm sure there'll be more so far, saying we're not going to bury them then. You're not going to heaven. You're not getting your virgins. It's not going to happen. You're killing people indiscriminately and in Ramadan. Absolutely appalling. Is it time as well to look at the Quran and say, look, these are the things they're taking out of the Quran, which are not acceptable. It's taken out of context. It was hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. This is not acceptable, and it's not acceptable if you follow that. Is it time to do that?
I think it is definitely time to do that. And do you know, I feel that there's a lack of knowledge out there, and I think scholars need to come forward and they need to explain that verse. That verse is actually taken out of context. It was revealed for a reason. It was revealed because there was a holy war going on, and there was a battle, and a lot of Muslims got killed in that battle, and that verse was revealed in a way to reassure the people that don't worry, all those people that died, they will go to heaven. But it was in a particular context. It was about a particular war.
Right.
That verse was revealed. What that verse does not mean now is that people without any holy war just end up just doing it thinking they'll go to heaven. Suicide bombing is not allowed in Islam at all, under any circumstance. It's God that gives us life. It's up to God to take away our life. And suicide bombing is written in many places in the Quran that it's not allowed.
Sidra, I thank you so much for coming in to speak to us. I really do. Sidra Naim, leading member of the Chelmsford Mosque as well as chaplain at Anglia Rusking. Thank you very much indeed. So what do we do about it? Are you pleased to hear that? You're going to shout it from the rooftops as well, because that needs to be front pages.
You're listening to Sadie 9. Call 0300 200 40 41. Tweet at BBC Essex. Text 81333 and start your message with Essex. BBC Essex.
It's BBC Essex. Eve is in Harlow. Wants to talk about terror. Morning, Eve.
Morning, Sadie. My thought is, when people have jobs in particular places like the anti-terrorists, do you think perhaps they get a little bit complacent and they don't really look into things so much? Do you think that the people should be shaken up, sort of moved around a bit, or given refresher courses?
Right, that's an interesting point. I suppose anything. I mean, it's like, I remember when I heard of the first beheading, I can't remember the gentleman's name. It was everywhere, and I was absolutely bereft. And now you sort of hear them and you go, oh, that's terrible. But it hasn't got maybe you're right, that the impact needs to be what? Rather than, oh, right, another one.
Yeah. And also YouTube. And the internet companies,
yeah,
they say that they can't or they won't take these programs off. Why not tell them that we will shut you down until you get it sorted out?
Well, that's Sidra and I were speaking about that actually, and as she said, YouTube should not be showing these vile comments of people who are trying to radicalise. They shouldn't be showing things of like how to hurt people or whatever. It should be shut down, and Theresa May is looking into that. Apparently, that is one area, one of the 4 points that she made, which has to be looked at. And also, advertisers have to be asked: do you want to advertise with next to items such as that, such as people being radicalised? Do you want your advertisement to go out there? Oh, get a brand new pair of shoes. Come along to so-and-so's. We've got 10% off. And here we have a video of somebody talking about going out and killing people. Eve, I think you're absolutely right. Maybe it is time to look at the people who advertise with this. Maybe they do get complacent when you hear so many calls coming through. As we heard from our doctor, there are so many calls coming through to these hotlines. Maybe they're being overlooked. Brian's in Colchester and dialed 0300 240 41. Morning, Brian.
Morning, Sadie. First of all, I think something I think a lot of people are probably wondering. I mean, how on earth can we have an election on Thursday with all this stuff going on? I think that, all the main policies have been forgotten. I think, quite rightly so. The terrorist situation has taken the headlines on the television, newspapers everywhere. And I think, with that, surely they can delay this election and talk about how they're going to improve, the policies and the systems they've got, the police, MI5, to stop this from happening, which is going to take a long, long time. So, but I think, at the moment, people think, how on earth can we have an election? Who would you vote for with so many conflicting policies on the number of police, et cetera, et cetera? So that's one thing. Listening to your conversation on this lady who's a Muslim, I've been to a Muslim country. I've been to one of the biggest mosques in the world in Egypt, and I've seen what their faith is like. And what fascinates me is that Muslims come here and they don't actually like the way the Western world lives. So, number one, why on earth are they coming here?
Yeah, some don't like. I mean, I'm pretty sure Sidra is absolutely fine with the way we live our lives.
Yeah, well, your lady said the word fanatic, and we see Jehovah's Witnesses maybe as fanatics. They come knocking at your door. They're very nice people, and you're always polite. And yes,
they don't harm you. They don't wish you harm.
They don't go around, distorting their religion. Christians don't go around distorting their religion, and they're killed in huge numbers in a lot of Muslim countries. And if you go, for instance, to the Gambia in Africa, the Christian population there is about 16%. The rest of it is predominantly Muslim.
But you do get Christian fanatics as well, because in the deep south in America they don't like gays and they won't have the joint marriage and Ku Klux Klan and all that. There are always fanatics in any religion. The trouble is that these fanatics are going round killing people, innocent people, and they don't care if they're Muslims. They don't care. They're not saying, "Oh, I'm only going to kill Christians." They're not attacking the churches. They're attacking concerts and people sitting outside bars. These people are lunatics. They're not religious in any way, shape or form.
I absolutely agree, Sadie. But the problem is the layman doesn't understand about the Muslim faith. At the end of the day, it's given headlines all the time. We don't hear all this stuff about the Jews, and Jews is a very strict faith as well. But this is, I shall still say it, and this is what, I read a Praseed, version of the Quran a long time ago now, and in that it says that the Muslim faith tells Muslims to infiltrate and get into every sector of society of a country to eventually take that country over. Now, I want the Muslim to come on and tell me that's not true. You've got our London mayor who's a Muslim and seems like a very nice chap and is doing a good job, but nevertheless he's a Muslim and he's got to that level.
He was voted in. I mean, he was voted in, and most of the people in London probably aren't Muslim. They voted him in because they thought he'd do a good job for them. Brian, I thank you very much indeed. I think what Brian's saying is we have to admit, and Sidra was saying that as well, there is a certain area of the Quran which can be viewed in a way that these fundamentalists, these terrorists view, and they think they're Muslims, but they're not. And that needs to be addressed, and we need to not be frightened about it, but to be able to say there is a certain group that look at Islam and read it differently. Brian, I thank you very much indeed for your call. Keep them coming in. 0300 200 40 41. Would you have called the anti-terror hotline? Are you surprised that Curran Butt wasn't seen as high risk by the security services? I just wonder. Give us a call, 0300 200 40 41. And there will be a minute's silence at 11 o'clock this morning to remember the 7 who died at London Bridge and all those injured. BBC Essex will be honouring the silence. We will stop and we will pay tribute during Ronnie's show, and I will stop wherever I am and pay tribute as well. We're very late for the news headlines now with Sonia Watson. It's, 8:33.
BBC Essex.
Thank you, Sadie. Good morning. The police and security services are coming under growing pressure to explain why an investigation into one of the men who carried out the attack in London on Saturday was downgraded. 7 people were killed. An inquiry was launched into Curran Butt from Barking 2 years ago, but he was made a lower priority than other targets because there was no evidence he was planning an attack.
I'm not fussy.
You're listening to Sadie 9. Call 0300 240 41. Tweet at BBC Essex. Text 813.
Ever watched that thing, the Giada 3 next door? Did you ever watch it on Channel 4? Apparently I only got one series or something, about 1 million views, but that means people watched it. Did you ever watch it? Did you think at the time this got... Do you know, if I'd have seen that title, I missed it completely. I'd have thought it was comedy. I'd have thought, that's a comedy. The Giardi next door. Because surely Giardi's got to be locked up. Because that means that they want us harm. No, they don't want people harm. Wish people harm, surely. Dan's in East Ham, Dardo, 300 200 40 41. Morning, Dan.
Hello, Sadie. Nice to hear from you.
Have we spoken before, Dan?
Hearing the chaplain, it came up another idea. You haven't asked her what are the feelings of the Arabic countries, not saying Muslims, let's take the whole Middle East. What are the feelings regarding America and UK? And from here, what I'm trying to say is that most of the Arabic nations, they don't accept democracy, they don't accept the democratic laws, they don't like it. I'm saying the majority, not the ones that are adapting everywhere, the majority, they don't like it. They like to live in a Muslim country, they like to live by the Muslim knowledge that was given by the Quran and by their values like it is, because this is how they like to live. Dress how they like, acting like they like, and everything that is common to the Middle East countries. So you have to think from this point of view, because when they are coming in UK, even if they adapt here, they will teach to their children not the Christian or let's say the UK spirit. They will teach them the Quran in a mosque, and they will teach them the Muslim or the Arabic spirit.
Yeah.
That's why they're the most exposed to the radicalization. They're exposed to these fanatic groups that, based on those teachings that are at some point, like my predecessor was saying, at some point they were against the Christianity because they were a holy war. Yeah, we are speaking about past. Based on these knowledges and the recent history, when America and UK got involved with nice or worse results in Middle East, based on all of this, they are creating their anger, their frustration, and later on their hate against the Western countries. And
so what do we do? What do we do, Dan? Because either we are a really accommodating country. We don't mind what people wear, how they pray. We don't mind who they bow their heads to. We don't mind that. We don't mind if they don't recognise things.
But they are disturbed to see others different than them. That's the point. You are not saying nothing against them, but you don't like to see your English ladies dressed in a t-shirt and a nice tights.
Yep.
They don't like to see that. They like their values. That's what I wanted to say. They like to see only Muslim dressed people. Only how they want to see. This is what you are disturbing them.
So obviously they're in the
society.
They're in the wrong place, and they should go back, because I wouldn't live in certain countries that tell me I have to be covered, or I can't drive, or I can't learn, or I have to walk behind. I wouldn't live there. I'd actually say there's no way in the world. I'd prefer to die before I would live in a place like that, because I value my freedom and what my grandmother fought for so hard, to vote, etc., etc. So I wouldn't live there. Why do you think people live in a country where they don't like the culture? Why live in a country, and what can be done about it if they are living here? And you're right that there are certain people who don't like our values and don't like the way we live our lives. Why on earth would you live here?
Why you don't ask them to leave?
Yeah, so is
your
that
government? They don't ask them? If you don't adapt in here, if you don't like in here, go back where you are coming from. No one is forcing you to stay here. This is UK house. And by politeness, when you enter into a house, you obey the rules of the house. You don't change the rules just because you came there. These are the rules of the UK, and this is what you should follow. If you don't like them, you are free to go somewhere else when you might like it.
Well, Dan, you talk a lot of common sense. I normally ban common sense, to be honest, in this programme, because it doesn't happen that often.
Going a bit on... Yeah.
Yeah, carry on. Dan, can I ask you where you're from originally?
I'm Romanian.
Right,
I'm Romanian originally.
So you've chosen to come to this country. You've learned our language, which we don't normally do when we go abroad, because everyone speaks English.
I was a little child.
You're a little child when you came here, and you
No, when I started learning English and English culture.
All right, see.
I was a small child.
We're rubbish.
I came here 2 years ago.
Well, Dan, I really appreciate your call, and it's common sense. If you don't like somewhere and some culture, then there must be areas in the world where you like their culture, and so you could live there. I'm with you, Dan. I can't argue against you. I can't put up another side because it seems common sense to me. Steve's in Southend. Morning, Steve.
Yeah, morning, Sadie. I've moved on to Holbridge and I've got to go around the county again in this wet. But never mind, I can do it. I need an Oscar. I can do it. I think we've done this before. We can do it again. Intern the people we think we need interning. Intern them en masse. Hang on before you go jumping up and down. All you need to do is put them in a hotel, not a jail, but make sure the hotel's secure, so as nobody goes bleating on later on in life, because there are a lot of bleaters in this world. Intern them, find out who these people are, find out if they have returned from other places in the world where nasty things are going on, and if they haven't, release them back into their society.
Right.
I don't believe, Sadie, that the leaders of their society are doing their utmost best to come down on this radicalisation within their own movements of religion. I do not believe it, and nor does anybody else that I know. I don't know if other listeners you've got believe it, but I do not, and I will say I do not.
Are you pleased to hear, Steve, are you pleased to hear that at least 130 imams have now turned around and said they will not bury these terrorists? They will not bury them. They do not believe they're Muslims and they don't bury them. Do you think it's that type of thing which will make these people sit up and go, oh, hang on, if I don't get a decent burial, I won't go to heaven and get these 40 virgins, which, as we heard from Sidra, is absolute nonsense because that was all to do with one battle. It's these unintelligent, thick people who believe they are of this religion and probably haven't even read the whole Quran. That is what Muslims say. Are you pleased to hear that over 130 imams will not bury them?
Before I answer that question, and I will...
Well, you better hurry up because you've got to travel.
I'll say to you that there's loads of religions in this world and there's only problems from one religion. OK, these imams say they won't bury them. You can't leave those bodies on the street. You can't leave them in the morgue, etc., etc. What are you going to do with them? Somebody else will have to bury them. Hang on,
absolutely.
Somebody else will have to bury them. And who's going to pay? Are the imams going to pay, or is somebody else going to pay?
Oh, crikey! There are certain things that are more important than money, Steve. And surely, if someone is going to blow up someone and suddenly thinks, now, hang on, no one will bury me, and if I don't get buried by a proper imam, I won't be able to go on and have what I deem I'm going to have because I've done a righteous job, then maybe it would make them think twice. I tell you what, I'd pay for him to be stuck in the ground. Steve, thank you very much indeed. Time for looking at the roads.
BBC Essex Track. You're listening to Sadie 9. Call 0300 200 40 41. Tweet at BBC Essex. Text 81333 and start your message with Essex. BBC Essex.
6 minutes to 9 on the text. Sadie, these fanatics might stem from the Muslim faith, but the Bader Meinhof lot are from the the Christian faith, yet we don't keep calling them Christians, nor should we keep calling IS Muslims, and we shouldn't call them IS, because they're not an Islamic State. There is an Islamic State. There's a so-called Islamic State. They are fanatics and should remain called by the media, etc., says Mark. Mark, I'm totally with you on that. Steve's in Westcliff. Morning, Steve.
Good morning. Just taking up more or less on that point. Steve from Southend said that, there's only one religion that has problems, but if you look at America, the majority, and it's a vast majority, about 95% of all incidents since 2010, have been carried out by radicalised Christians. It's not just the Deep South, it's all over. There are many states in America where you can't even teach Darwinism.
Really?
You're not allowed to say that people evolved. No, they were created direct from God.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, yeah, very seriously. It's as bad as any of these so-called Muslim estates where people are complaining about. And as your other caller just quite rightly pointed out, there's the Bader Meinhof group. And also, just because they won, remember, victors write the rules. Weren't the Jewish founders all terrorists at some point?
Would you know...
The Jewish state has really fought tooth and nail.
When you look back into history, you look back at the wars and the religious wars and so on and so forth. I mean, they were horrendous. They were absolutely. This is medieval and vile, and it's incredible that some people hang on to that, and you actually go, hang on here, it's 2017. We've moved on.
I mean, we're putting Christians all holy, but they were actually the people that started the problems with the Crusades. They went over there looking for gold, nothing else.
But the thing is, Steve, we don't have that problem in this country. It may be in other parts of the world, but we don't have that problem. Yes, we have right wing in this country, which far right wing, which can be racist and so on and so forth. But we don't have the problem as yet, and please God we don't, where they're blowing up innocent people, be they Christians or Jewish or Muslim or whatever, or Catholic, whatever. We don't have that problem. So please God, we keep across that and don't have that. And the problem is that these people are claiming to be Muslims. They're claiming it in the name of Allah, and I can't imagine any God condoning the taking of innocent lives. I can't, and I don't think any of us sane people can think of that, Steve. Interesting though, isn't it, Steve? You've got to look across the world. It's not just all one faith. Steve, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much for all your texts and emails and everything. If I haven't got to them, I do apologise. I will be reading out any letters.